Mic'd up.
Welcome everybody to Warrior Companion podcast. Notice I said paw, not podcast. And you'll learn during this podcast about the uniqueness of the Warrior Companion charity and what they do for providing pet health care and insurance to the service animals of disabled veterans. It's a very worthwhile charity. And we're blessed today to be having the president of the Warrior Companion and the founder of Warrior Companion both on the podcast today. And this is presented by the Animal Hospital of Sullivan County. So we're excited that they're behind this and looking forward to a great podcast. So with that, I'd like to, first of all, I'm going to introduce Jack Bodolosky. Jack is the founder of the Warrior Companion charity. And during this podcast, he's going to tell you all about it. And Jack, I'm going to turn it over to you as the founder of Warrior Companion to introduce your president of Warrior Companion that's been with you since the founding of this special charity. So I'm going to turn you loose. Go ahead, Jack.
Well, good morning, everybody. Jack Bodolosky, founder of Warrior Companion. I'm an ex-combat medic with the United States Army. Did a tour in Iraq. And, you know, I know how important veterans are with their pets as well as veterans with their golf. I have a dear friend of mine, John Burnham, that I met while I was in Austin, Texas, and that's where we founded Warrior Companion. That's seen my vision from the early stages and believed in me and trusted me and has been by my side ever since. I want to introduce you to John Burnham, and he'll tell you a little bit about himself and where he comes from and where we're headed. Here's my president, John Burnham.
All right. Thank you so much. Great to be with you guys today. Jack, you are an inspiration to so many. And really, when we sat down and had that first cup of coffee and talked about this vision, I saw it immediately. And I thought, who doesn't love helping veterans and who doesn't love animals, right? And put those together. It made just a lot of sense. It's such a huge win-win. So, yeah, so I got passionate about it very quickly. And in my day job, I'm a mortgage lender. I've been helping families purchase houses and helping with their mortgage refinances for 25 years almost. And I grew up in North Texas. We've been in Central Texas in Austin since 2000. And when I saw this, it made so much sense because I'm interacting consistently on a daily basis with families, you know, that have they're purchasing homes for many reasons. And when I'm helping our veterans, especially in the community where they're disabled. And I've got a lot of clients that are disabled and they have service dogs. When I saw this, I thought this is such a perfect way to help our veterans reduce their healthcare costs for their pets. I mean, if anyone's taken their dog to the vet, and I had that in the last week because our dog we have a lab and they get ear infections feel like every week. So we've been taking him to the vet and then helping with this ear infection. It is not cheap. It is not cheap. And so, you know, there's a lot of organizations out there that provide the animal to the veteran. And those are hugely important organizations. And so we've got a lot of the pairing of the veteran with the animal. But now that the veteran has that animal, there's a financial responsibility that goes with that. And so what this mission does is help reduce those healthcare costs for that veteran who, many cases, on a fixed income. And I think, Jack, if I remember correctly, one of your first stories you told me is you got on Facebook and one of your buddies was selling his truck to pay for surgery
for his dog.
for his dog. And it just, you know, it makes your eyes kind of well up when you think about it.
And our first dog that we funded, John, they needed bilateral knee replacements.
That's right.
Very wrong, Greg Levin's dog. And that was a $14,000 bill that he did not have.
Wow.
And, you know, just helping Greg and his dog was just huge because his mom was like, if you guys didn't save his dog, I know he was going to kill himself. So that just put us kind of in hyperdrive of, you know, getting more veterans with dogs and getting them funded. And I want to let everybody know, John is not only the president of Warrior Companion, but he's got skin in the game. So he gives money from every mortgage deal he does to Warrior Companion, whether it's 25 or 50 or whatever it is. He always gives that, and he passes that tax deduction to a lot of times to the people that are buying their property. So it's you know, not only is he helping veterans with animals, but he's also helping veterans close deals and and get homes for them and their animals. So it's just he's just an amazing guy all the way around. So I'll let you continue, John. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You're
No,
on a
no,
No,
roll.
actually,
I
those
appreciate
are
it.
kind of things we want to accomplish today or this podcast because we need to get the word out and tell the story about Warrior Companion, and I know there's lots and lots of stories. So thank you for that, Jack. I think that's important to know. And
Yeah,
You bet.
and again, anything you come up with from an anecdotal story to whatever, I know our viewers will really appreciate hearing some of those things.
definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think we've seen the health insurance, the pet insurance work for some of the veterans that we've, whom which we've insured their animals. And so I think that's the other piece of this, right? Is okay, so you have this pet insurance policy. And first of all, a lot of folks don't know you can even have pet insurance. I didn't, 10, 15 years ago. I didn't even realize it existed,
And I
right?
didn't know it was around since 1953 either. I
Right?
learned a lot too. And I've been
Yeah.
in the veterinarian space for a long time.
And so as a pet owner, outside of Warrior Companion, you think to yourself, okay, well, I've got discretionary income. If I need to pay a $300 or $400 vet bill, I can do that. But what about the catastrophic stuff? What about the $5,000, knee surgery? I didn't even know dogs had ACL. A double ACL knee replacement. Like dogs have ACLs, like
Hips
the
too.
athlete on the football field. So just learning a lot about the animals, their biology, their physiology, and like what happens to them. A lot, obviously, cancer treatments, things like that. So there's a lot that goes into caring for these animals. The key, though, is the preventative care. And Jack and I, when we saw these pet insurance policies from a preventative care standpoint, it's really about extending the life of the pet, and extending the life of the animal. Obviously, that helps the
And
veterans so
and
much and
and the
reducing
pet
those costs.
and their companion, the warrior companion that they have, is on duty 24/7. And
That's
the
right.
only way that animal is going to be able to perform at their 100% is to make sure that they're healthy. And as the animal gets older, it's not like us, when we get 7 years older, we feel aches and pains, but animals age progressively. When they're one, they're already seven. When they're two, they're already 14, and so on. And the bigger the animal they are, the faster they age. So it's even more important that if you have a large animal like a Labrador or a Burmese mountain dog or a mutt that's 65, 70 pounds, they need to see veterinarians at least twice a year. And the only way you can do that financially is with the pet insurance that we provide for these veterans and their service animals. And that's why we do it. That's the biggest, like John was saying, that's the real reason why we started doing it. The preventative, the catastrophe care is a plus. It's keeping those veterans and their dogs healthy to allow the dogs to perform at the top level that they're at. And
For sure.
and
And
that's
And the veterinarian clinics, they want to see the dogs on a regular basis. Bring your pet in every 6 months. Let us do the well exams. Let us do all the testing so we can get out in front of any major issues before they're catastrophic. And so I think there's an education component here that the importance of the consistent care and the preventative care. And a lot of times we just, as a pet owner, like, oh, my dog's not eating. There must be something wrong. And we almost forget that they need the preventative care just like our kids do, right? And taking them
and
in
also the
consistently.
investment in training these animals to get them to where they are.
Yes.
There's some of them are 80, $90,000 just to train an animal that, a lot of time they're gifted to the veteran, but it's a serious investment that we need to keep that pet alive as long as we can so you get more of return on the training that they have. Um, and we all know they don't live very long. Most dogs live between the age of 14 and 20. Um, and if they're in impeccable health, they might live to 21, 22. Um, but mainly it's 14, 15, 16 years old, they usually pass. So, keeping the animals ready and fit for duty for their veteran is an amazing thing that's a very important thing we need to do. And also it keeps our veterans alive because,
Yeah, Jack, I
PTSD.
wanted to ask you that because I know I've heard a few stories in the past. I know our viewers would probably appreciate some of the real stories that these service animals. Not only are you saving their lives, they're saving the lives of these of these vets. So maybe you have a couple instances you can share with us about that.
So, we have Michael Epstein, which John has met, and Sophia. And Sophia detects the seizures before they happen. He alerts him so he knows he needs to sit down or lay down. And if he sees them, she gets underneath his head so he's not banging his head on the ground, he's banging his head on her instead. So that's just one scenario. We've had other dogs that, just know that they're having a mental crisis and they bug the shit out of them until they break their concentration on what bad stuff is going through their minds. And there's more.
No, that's very interesting. So it's like intuitive almost.
They're very
You know,
intuitive in what
Very.
the veteran's going through. I personally had a Labrador that knew when I was having a shitty day because he would just not leave me alone, and I miss him every day because when he passed away, I don't have that anymore.
oh boy.
So you don't
Yeah.
have that. There's, the animals. There's certain animals that do certain things, and we all have that pet. That's one of the reasons why we decided to do this podcast, John, was because it's not only veterans have these amazing animals, it's anybody could come on here and talk
That's
about
right.
how amazing their animal is. We're just bringing awareness to it for veterans and first responders that are disabled. So that way we can get more pets covered, and having stories like ours out there will bring more awareness to what we're trying to do to help more animals and more veterans and disabled first responders with their pets.
That's right. And
Well,
there's
I
also a
enjoyed the
component.
podcast
Oh,
we did with Michael there because I remember he had his dog.
Yeah.
He had his dog with him. It was great.
Sophia.
Yeah, Sophia was the star of the show. Actually, that was great. So as we progress with these podcasts, you're going to get a good look at the actual animal too. You put a face and the name and the dog together. They're the star of the show. I know that down the road we're going to have a golf tournament coming up eventually, and
Right there in
we
Austin,
know that
Texas.
that's right. And we know that the dogs will be there with their vets. They'll be the star of the show there. And, good reason sometimes when you donate to charity and you believe in a cause and you want to get behind it, it's great to actually see people that are actually benefiting from it and their dogs and how much that means to everybody.
And I want everybody to
Absolutely.
realize that John and I do not take a salary from Warrior Companion. 100% of the proceeds goes directly to Warrior Companion. So we pay out of our pocket for a lot of extra things like shirts and swag and all that, or we buy it through our businesses. So that way it's not taken away from the veterans getting their pet covered with pet insurance. So I just wanted to make sure people realize that 100% of your donation and your gift is going 100% to a dog and a veteran or
And
a disabled first responder.
plus you get one of these. I got
Beautiful
the
challenge
Jack
coins.
Bodolosky coin right here from Warrior Companion, and so if you're a golfer, it makes a great ball mark. But I carry it everywhere, and it's kind of cool. So anyway, just we'll go with that. I digress here, but thanks for providing these to people because it gives you a reminder every day that hey,
Yeah. And
we
people
need to
love
do something
love collecting
special.
them.
Yeah, great. So John, now that you've been on our podcast. Why don't you tell us what you see in the future for Warrior Companion? What's your goal? What do you want the Warrior Companion to be like 5 years from now? What kind of direction is your vision for this organization to be at and down the road?
Well, it's a great question. In a perfect world, I would love to have every single service dog out there covered with a health insurance policy, so our veterans don't have to pay for their dog's health care. And that's a big. I don't know. That's a million plus. I don't even know how many dogs worldwide. There's obviously veterans that don't even live in the states, and so finding these veterans and really educating them that this is there for them. We need to raise a ton of money to accomplish that goal. So, but hey, it starts right here in our own communities, right? It's in our neighborhood. Who do we know that has a service dog that we could educate that this is available to them? And then, of course, it's always two sides. We're looking to attract more veterans and their service animals so we can insure those dogs. We also need to raise money, right? So we need the funding, to help this. cause and spread these, spread this cause. And I think Jack's vision, my vision is that we build chapters throughout the U.S., right? We have local chapters that can then serve the local communities. And it might be 10, 15, 20 veterans, in a community, or 50. And it just spider webs out. And so we did get knocked off our feet a little bit during COVID. I'll admit, we really had some steam going in 2019. And then when COVID hit, it really made it difficult for our board of directors to stay together. A lot of folks were moving, people were changing jobs, changing careers, working from home. We got super busy in my industry, so I lost some momentum for sure. That Jack and I've talked about numerous times, but it's really about bringing that awareness. The more awareness we can bring that this even exists, right? That there's a way for a veteran to care for their service animal and not have to pay out of pocket, maybe minimal expenses, right? A few $100s here and there, but we're talking about thousands of dollars a year in benefits that they can take advantage of. And there's also a component of educating our veterinarians out there that this exists, because they're treating these animals. And veterinarians, I have a good friend here in Austin that owns a vet clinic. It's where we take our dog, and he's now expanded. He's got 6 or 7 clinics, and they're just crushing it. He's doing great, and their care that they provide the animals is fantastic, just like Jack and Barb, with their animal clinic up in New York. And so, the care that's provided, no veterinarian is going to turn away a client and a dog that comes into their clinic and needs the care. But there is the reality of receivables, right, where the veterinarian's got to collect on that. And a lot of times, the person might not be able to pay for that vet service, or
Yeah.
they have to pay over time. And so educating the veterinarian clinics that there's an organization that can insure these animals, to make sure that that veterinarian is getting as much, maybe it's 80, 90% of the care. And I think there's a model that we've looked at, Jack, where a lot of veterinarian clinics, a lot of businesses will give 10% military discounts, right? So
Right.
if the vet clinic can bill to the insurance company, get 90% or 80% of that paid, but then give a discount to the military, to the veteran, it could be in essence, in some cases, zero out of pocket to that veteran, but that
And
veterinarian clinic has zero receivables,
and
right?
that's exactly what happened with Greg Levin's dog. They did both knee replacements, and they accepted the 90% and did not charge him a penny more. So he got, all the knee replacements, the rehab, the physical therapy, the rechecks, all that with
Incredible.
no money out of pocket, zero.
Incredible. And it would have been 5 figures,
Thousand. It was
probably. Yeah.
$14,000
Yeah.
when it was all said and done.
Yeah.
So the veterinarians can't do everything for free, and they're probably the most giving organization of anybody I know, because they all work for peanuts now. I mean, it's changing a lot since corporations starting to scarf up veterinary practices. And that's another thing is, I watched the prices in veterinarian practices go up 72% in the last 5 years. So the inflation on going to the veterinarian has been unbelievable. And now you need a $10,000 savings account just to take care of your pet if something just minor happens, like a virus, or a appendicitis, or something where they're hospitalized for a week. You're talking 10 grand now. It's not like the old days where it was $2,000-3,000, and you could pay over time. The veterinarians can't afford to extend credit like that anymore. It's just not available. Price of doing business has gone up tremendously. And pet insurance is really the only answer to the equation. And John and I talked about possibly doing where, if they don't have the pet insurance and there's a grant out there, we could start putting together a grant that we can maybe do to where we can pay out of pocket for them. But we're just not there yet. We got a long way to go to get to that point. But that's my initial dream, that we'll be able to just write a check for anybody that's in need, because a lot of times that's when they need it the most. By educating them along the way and making them more smart in how they take care of them and themselves and their companion, because that's another hardship that's on that veteran. If he can't take care of that companion, now he feels like a double loser, um, and that causes problems. So we're just coming up with solutions to problems that we see. And also, when they're disabled, when a person's disabled, they're on a fixed income. I had veterans that are 100% disabled get like $4,600 a month. That's it. And a lot of times they don't get Medicaid or Medicare because they don't qualify. Um, so $4,600, I don't know about you, but I don't think I can go around the block with that. Just between paying my mortgage and putting gas in the car and insurances and putting food on the table. It's just not going to happen. So that's the biggest reasons why we're here doing this and bringing awareness that this is available, but we only can fund what we can afford. And right now we're covering 13 dogs and it's $1,000 a month, um, per 13 dogs. It's about 1380 a month we're paying right now. So, you $1,400 a month times, that's what it's like. I'm trying to do that in my head. John, you can help me. You're
15
better
to
at math
20
than I
grand
am.
a year.
About
Yeah,
20 grand a year.
mhm.
Yeah.
And, John and I are getting a little bit better, getting closer to raising that, but, we cover what's the shortfalls of that, personally. So,
Yeah,
Hey,
and oh, go ahead.
I want to shift gears here because for our viewers out there, there's and Jack, share as little or as much of this as you want to, but there's a famous actor who's a huge supporter of vets, very famous, that was one of the driving forces for you to get involved and do this. If you
Gary
want to share with us a
Sinise.
little bit.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Gary Sinise was the one. So, when I had this, was called the Companion Animal Foundation, and I didn't want to do what anybody else was doing with it. Um, you know, Vaccine clinics and spay and neuter clinics. That's what the SPCA's are for, and all these nonprofit animal shelters that do. And I was really not really happy where I was with it until I went to go see Gary Sinise, and at BAMSI, which is in San Antonio, Texas. It's one of the biggest. That's Brooks Army Medical Center in San Antonio, where I did my AIT training. I was asked to come as a VIP, and I graciously accepted it. Well, relentlessly, I accepted it because I was offered before and didn't go. And that's where my whole idea came from, starting to cover animals with either veterinary care or something. Um, and that's where the light came on. I was at BAMSI. I was able to follow around Gary. He's an amazing guy. He had Chef Irvine. Got to spend countless hours with Chef Irvine. Spend more time with Chef Irvine than I did with Gary. And just learning what they were doing together and supporting the troops, not only the ones that are in the service, but also the ones that have retired and moved on out of the military. And just being with them and seeing how great they are gave me the idea about covering the service animals. So there was a service animal there, family, beautiful family, veteran, triplegic, which he had three of his limbs were gone. He only had one arm left with three fingers on one hand, Foley catheter, beautiful children, beautiful wife. Gary's in there talking to the veteran. Dog is hanging out with mom and the kids. Minute Gary switched his attention from the veteran to the mother and the kids, that dog worked his way through the people in the room, put his hand up underneath those three fingers of that veteran's hand to let him know that someone was still there for him. And that's, to this day, I see that in my head over and over again, just like other things I see over and over again. But that brings a smile to my face that I was able to come up with an idea to support those who desperately need this service. And no one else is doing what we do. They provide the dogs, they provide houses, they give them cars, but they have no way of giving the care of all those things, paying the mortgage or putting gas in the car and the maintenance and the title, the tax and all that. Nobody does that. So we're at least getting the service dogs covered with pet insurance. That way they can go to whoever they need to go to, whether it's a specialty hospital or your routine veterinarian. They can go there and know in their mind that they're going to be able to take care of the animal the way they should be taken care of. And that is why we do what we do. And that's why John is so graciously stepped up to be president to help me move this vision forward. And of course, we have John Reger that helps with this beautiful podcast because we need to get the word out there. And this is probably the best way to do it.
Well, and it is, and I thoroughly enjoy doing this with you guys because I know what this is from the heart. This is from you caring about something that there's a need out there with the disabled vets and these dogs, and you're trying to do something about it. And the philosophy I have, with it, it's a crawl, walk, trot, run proposition. You've established a foundation, you've done some good, and you're trying to do more. And I think that you'll get there in that 5 year span that I asked you about, John. I think that you're going to get there. But for our viewers out there, what'll happen is this podcast is archived, and you'll be able to see it on the app, but also at the Warrior Companion website. They'll, I'm sure John and Jack, you guys will throw a link up there so we can start getting a big collection of these podcasts with the dogs and the vets and things like that. So it's very enjoyable, and I look forward to doing quite a few more. So, John, with that, I'm going to let you answer the last question of the day here, and then we're going to go ahead and get this thing up on that website. So, John, tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background here. Yeah, I know that you're doing a lot of selfless service and doing this thing here. But who are you? Where'd you come from? Maybe you're a super famous celebrity and we don't even know it.
Well, I'm not. I appreciate you making that suggestion, but no, so I grew up in North Texas, Fort Worth area, and my parents lived in the same house for 50 years. They just recently sold it and moved out to East Texas, where my sister is. But yeah, born and raised in Fort Worth. Went to TCU at Go Horn Frogs up in Fort Worth, and then met Katie, my wife, in college, and then we moved to Austin in 2000. And so we what brought us to Austin, I actually started. I could have been maybe a little bit famous, but I was ahead of my time. My son and I were talking about this the other day, but I started a golf internet company with my two cousins. And our mission, this was 2000. So this was right when the
Well,
internet started to
what was
be
the
a
name of
thing.
that company?
Well, it's no longer, unfortunately, but it
I know,
was
but
called, yep, it was called Link 18. And what we
okay.
were doing was bringing online tee times. We built a platform for online golf tee times. You'd
Oh
appreciate
my
this as a
goodness.
golf
Yeah.
pro.
Now look at that today with Golf Now
That's right.
exploded. And
That's
I
right.
remember those days because I've been in the golf business for 45 years.
Sure.
And back at that time, I actually had a little company called Briefcase Golf, and I did a lot of consulting
Okay.
for websites and software companies that were trying to do these very things. And it is really amazing where that business has gone. But in those days, you had the dial up on AOL, and
Oh, you
now
had
you
dial up
can launch the.
if the pro shops even had internet. And that was one of the big
Oh yeah.
big pushes that
Hurdles.
we were making is we were actually bringing internet connectivity to the pro shops. We had a deal with Dell. We were bringing in the computers. We were actually connecting them to the internet because it was back in the day. You just call in and you'd write your tea time down on a big tea
Napkin.
sheet with a pencil, right? And I don't know, maybe pro shops that still do that, across the country. But yeah, the golf tee time business was so fragmented, like booking an airline ticket. It was
Oh
just
yeah.
started to become, Travelocities and Expedias of the world were just sort of coming out. So our whole mission was to bring these regional tee time companies together, have one platform where clients could go, they could book their tee times anywhere in the world or really in the US was kind of our focus. So it was a fun project. We raised a bunch of venture capital money that brought us to Austin, and we were in business for about 9 months. We burned through that through that capital, and our investors said, "You're
Yeah.
not bringing any revenue in, so we're out." And of course, here we are today. But again, just a little ahead of our time, and that kind of left me waiting tables and working at a pro shop, and that was 2001. I got in the mortgage industry like a lot of us do, kind of by accident, and it's been an incredible passion of mine for 24 years. I love what I do. I love helping families. I love serving our communities, and this just was so in alignment with, Warrior Companion was in alignment with my dog lover, and I love serving. I did not serve in the military, but I had a really good friend who growing up. When he saw the movie Top Gun at age 10, he said, I'm going to do that. And he literally did that and flew F-18s and flew overseas and, went to the Naval Academy. I'm like, this guy just knew what he wanted to do when he was 10. And I always admired that because I really didn't know what I wanted to do at 10. Even at 20, I didn't know what I wanted to do.
I
And
still
so
don't
kind
know
of,
what I want to do.
right? So kind of fell into the mortgage industry by accident, and was working with some folks that really were not doing it the right way. And I could see the lack of integrity. There's lack of integrity in every industry, sure. But I just happened to be working with some folks that were not doing things right. And I saw the right way to do this business, or what I at least believed was the right way. And that's really helped build a foundation and longevity in this career through ups and downs, because it's obviously point where we've built
Oh,
a stable foundation. I'm very grateful for that. It's allowed me to do some other things like Warrior Companion, and at the same time, we've got to grow. We know we need to grow. We know we need to raise money. We know we need to find more veterans. And so, thank you for having us on, because hopefully this reaches a few folks that say, you know what, that is a cause that I really want to get behind. And even if it's $20 a month, $50 a month, you see those commercials, just $20 a month will save this child or this animal. And it really is, it's about $100 a month on average to insure a dog, right? So
well,
12, yeah,
not only are you helping the dog, but you're also helping the veteran, so your money goes twice as far.
that's right.
Yeah, and there's no
Yeah,
better way to save the life of a veteran is to have a service animal and make sure that service animal is tip top, ready to go at all times. And because there's probably a lot of times they can't afford to take it to the vet, they can't afford to take their dog to get the health care that it needs, and it's detrimental to the dog. Well, then when that dog passes early,
It's
then now the vet's like, he's got to have to hopefully there's somebody else that can get him another dog. But just for the health and well-being of that dog, just from the humanity and caring about animals, that you got to take care of those dogs. And so I'm really glad that you guys have gotten involved with this. So with that, you know what, I think we did it. We did a Warrior Companion podcast, and appreciate you, Jack, the founder of Warrior Companion, for being on, and John Burnham for being the president of this outfit. And we're looking forward to seeing what the future is going to hold 5 years from now, I'm sure. And so with that, you've been listening to the Warrior Companion podcast, not pod, but PAW, P-A-W cast. And it's sponsored by the Animal Hospital of Sullivan County. So we thank them for their participation and support of that. And look for us on social media. Just type in at Warrior Companion and you'll get to the website. You'll get to the social media that's out there. And we even have some social media out there for Warrior Companion Golf and a website for that. And we'll keep you posted on future golf tournaments that are going to be staged and held to benefit the Warrior Companion. So with that, my name's John Reger, PJ Professional, and Mike, that broadcaster, for Jack Bodolosky, founder of Warrior Companion, and John Burnham, president of Warrior Companion. Have a good day, and we hope to see you on the link soon. Take care.
sounds great.
Thanks so much. Take care.